Welcome back, fellow mutants and humans alike. My name is Kyle. I am with Danny once again. We are in, even though we're a little behind in Dawn of X, but we've reached it, Danny. We have reached Dawn of X Phase 2. And in Phase 2, we're seeing some new books. And today we're going to talk about one of those new books. That new book being Wolverine, issue number 1. Are you excited? Were you excited when you heard this announcement, when I told you about it?
Well, like I was talking about with you earlier, I expected there to be like a Wolverine issue 1 coming at one point, but that didn't make me any less like excited to actually finally dive into it and like,
Sure.
okay, what's Logan doing now as like the focus of the Dawn of X storyline? Like when the spotlight shifts to Logan and his happenings and his going-ons, like how's he gonna do it? Like how's he gonna approach it? Is he going to use a more classic Logan, or are we going to get more of a modern twist on Logan, where he's trying to bridge the gap between this dark soldier from the past trying to be a mentor to these children of the future?
Mm-hmm.
So I was really excited jumping into it.
Yeah, definitely. I felt the same way. I was kind of hesitant, a little hesitant. I was just like, yeah, it's a Wolverine series.
You didn't expect it to wow you. That's for sure.
Didn't expect me to wow you, and I was very, I dug it. I dug the first half, at least. The second half was pretty good too, but the first half I really enjoyed. I was on board like a ride. But we'll get into that. This is done by Benjamin Percy and Adam Cuthbert. Now, I am holding in my hand right now, Danny, an issue of Teen Titans. I believe it's volume 7, issue number 1. This is the one where Damian Wayne kind of takes over the Teen Titans. And Benjamin Percy wrote this. And I really dug the first arc, which is what he wrote. Very like childish and sophomoric, but at the same time, good action and good coming of age storytelling, you know?
Would you say that was a well-received arc when he had his hands behind the wheel?
I would say for this iteration of Teen Titans, it was probably the best. I kind of fell off after a little bit. Like once like Crush got in and then they started fighting like Lobo for a while, it's just like, I don't know. I checked out. So I don't know.
You can only go so far with Lobo. He's great, but I mean like that's like a corner you wrote yourself into when you bring Lobo in, because he's like unkillable. So it's like, what do we
do? Exactly.
That's fair.
So Benjamin Percy wrote Teen Titans. That's the one thing I'm familiar with. Also, another thing is I think I told you about this, the podcasts that Marvel put out, Wolverine the Long Trail and Wolverine the Long Night, I think.
It sounds like that was the one that came out earlier in like 2019 or something like that.
Yes. Did you ever listen to those?
No, but I remember hearing about the stories and like how it was pretty popular. It also kind of felt like it was reminiscent of like a Batman like title, like The Long Night. It was like, oh man. A little bit. Like okay. But yeah, I heard they were good. But didn't Percy also do an Excalibur issue not that long? It's something. I remember he wrote one of the Dawn of X series, but I don't remember which one. Because Hickman stepped away from doing New Mutants, but I know someone else stepped in something else for a bit.
X-Force number 1
is what Percy did.
He's credited on Wikipedia for X-Force number 1. X-Force number 1 and Wolverine number 1. So.
So that's what we know. Okay, because that was a great issue. That was a great issue. So that's already like a nice foot forward. Just going off of the momentum of what I felt from reading that, I'm like, okay,
yeah, that's good.
If he brings that to Wolverine, then I'm already like dissuaded as being like, okay, this could be good.
Yeah, I dig him. He also writes novels too. I wonder what his novels are like.
Maybe he's like Neil Gaiman, where he writes some crazy stuff. Like, that Gods TV show? I always forget the name of.
Damn it, I just forgot. Right as you said it.
American Gods.
American Gods. Yeah.
Good show. Good book.
Definitely.
But the comic stuff is always better. So I would imagine His novels are probably so, just as a rough estimate.
Just a rough estimate.
Yeah,
Uh,
comic comic book writers tend to I excel better as comic book writers and not so much as like novelists in general.
it's true.
I feel their writing style lends better to that type of medium, and it just feels more
Yeah,
organic.
it translates better to TV and movies more so than novels.
Correct, exactly. Like it's a whole different animal.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. And Adam Cuthbert, are you Cubert or Cuthbert? I can't. I always
Cupboard, like
Cuthbert.
Indian
Cuthbert.
cupboard or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with his work at all?
No, was he an artist on any of the Dawn of X series or any House? No, because that was all Martin Garcia.
Um,
Um, yeah,
yeah.
I don't recall him.
Let's see. Here we go. He's done. Let's see. It's not in chronological order, is it? But I'll just pick some random stuff here. We did Fear Itself, Thor #7, Dark Reign, The List, Amazing Spider-Man #1, Civil War 2, issue 8,
Ooh.
A versus X, #1, The Incredible Hulk. Yeah.
Well, I remember vividly the probably like first three you listed off. I remember that artwork being phenomenal and very good. So
Mhm.
that's great. I dropped out of Civil War 2, so I don't recall how that went. I don't even think I really read the resolution. I was kind of just like, I don't even care anymore. Like, who cares who wins? Fuck them all.
I think
But yeah,
like
dude's got
it
good
does
artwork.
happen. Yeah, yeah, yeah. His artwork's awesome. I dig it. At least according, just based off of Wolverine #1. I am loving what I've seen so far.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, let's dive into this though. You ready?
Oh yeah. Let's definitely. We're starting just transitioning well from the artwork. Look at the body horror that we're like getting that kind of
Oh
treatment that
yeah,
kind of is reminiscent to
exactly.
X Force.
X
Exactly
Force,
that kind
yeah,
of
that was issue #2 of X Force. We got a lot of body horror, a
yeah.
lot of body parts showing some muscle and bone, and this is how we start off in Alaska somewhere, and it's just kind of like these like one sentence words describing Logan, right? James, Logan, Patch, Weapon X, Wolverine. Then he names like Canada, New York, Madripoor, like all these places he's been, and then it ends with Krakoa. And he's kind of like he doesn't know who he is. He's kind of confused, and we see like this body horror kind of pan outward, from the eye and the teeth to the chest, and we see the open chest pretty much, and the muscles around the chest, and then we see the whole body, and like his left leg seems to be pretty much gone. His foot's still there though.
He looks like a shark attack victim that just like crawled on shore and is just bleeding out in the sand, but it's in the snow, so it's kind of a nice parable.
Yeah. And we cut to essentially the entire X Force team down, dead. We got Kid Omega, we got Jean Grey, we got Domino, dead, and he's just lamenting a little bit. He's, um, he's doing his thing where he's just like, "What have I done?" Kind of like what happened in Old Man Logan a little bit.
Yeah, it's already feeling very akin to the Old Man Logan storyline. And they did this nice little recap of just all the little happenings in like Wolverine's life and like names that he's had and monikers. And it's just kind of really baked into the feeling you get from Wolverine as he stands up and he's like readdressing his surroundings and he's like, who am I? What year is this? I've lived a long time. Oh, these are my dead friends next to me. Oh shit, my dead friends.
Yeah,
But I'm a little concerned about how they drew the victims here because it's like if Wolverine really would have used his claws on them, I feel like they'd be in more pieces. They're
yeah.
not diced up enough. It looks like he was just being a dick and like cutting surface areas, like light cuts, like a cat. It's just like, ow, Wolverine, what are you doing?
And like they have like these burn wounds all over him too, which is interesting. Do you see like at least like Domino has a little bit, and
Yeah,
Kid
Jean's like,
Omega.
I think Jean's smoldering, and Kid Omega are smoldering. Or is that bloodstains? Oh, it's a bloodstain, like in the silhouette behind them. I almost thought that was like smoke coming off of them, like ash.
Oh
But yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah, they
blood.
definitely do look like that. They have like maybe like gun muzzle wounds, or maybe there's some sort of incendiary. They tried everything to kill Wolverine to stop him from like ripping them up, and it just didn't work out too well. Though I feel Jean should have been able to take him. That was kind of,
Right?
yeah.
That
I don't
makes
know.
no sense. I mean, we see her kind of like just manhandle him later, anyways. So it's like, huh?
Yeah, true. It's true. She really does like bitch him out in front of a bunch of kids.
It's great. But Logan just kind of goes up to like Gene and he's just like, I couldn't stop him. I killed him, but I did. Even Genie. Um, and then he looks and there's footsteps and he's like, but someone survived. And he's looking at the footprints and he pops the claws. We get our first snick of the issue and he snicks and we get some nice blood too. It's like a viscous blood. It's like he's ready for battle. His heart's racing at
Oh
the
yeah.
moment and he goes off. He goes off into the distance.
Oh yeah, he's ready to start this Wolverine issue. He's like, let's do it proper. The Wolverine. Cue the music. Like, this is a good intro. This is
It
a solid
is.
intro.
I dig it. I dig it. Very iconic. I like the poses. I dig the pose of him like looming over Jean Grey is good. And the fist popping the claws. Great artwork.
Yeah, I like how it transitioned off of that panel through like those squares, focusing in on it. I'm like, that
Yeah.
was kind of unique. I've never really seen that.
I dig the style where it's like trying to get your attention on the hand and now it's like pretty much saying like now focus on this hand and we get like three phases of the hand. I like that kind of I guess chronological like way of showing. It's like storyboarding pretty much. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, or tripping on salvia. I don't know. They're pretty close.
Pretty close. Oh yeah, yeah. Don't get me started on the tiles. Different universes.
Oh, it's great though, and I really like the quick speed up that got us to this point. I mean, look at we're only a few pages in, but
Yeah.
it transitioned quick. It was like this is Wolverine, this is what happened, and now he's gonna go deal with it, and boom, title. It's
Boom.
like we're going into like the intro title screen.
Yes. And we cut to the title. If you really want to tangle with someone. Mutants around the world are flocking to the island nation of Krakoa for safety, security, and to be part of the first mutant society. Even Wolverine, Danny. Yet, in spite of the wealth and opportunities ahead, Wolverine remains poised for the worst. Dot, dot, dot.
I hope it did like as a video. I would picture this like that's the title crawl that starts rolling down as he's running
Right.
off into the snow. Like, oh man, we're set and ready for an interesting story about Wolverine.
Yeah. Great intro. So we cut from there to 5 days ago on Krakoa. And what we get is just a bunch of children mutants. And they're playing tag, hide and seek, right? They're just like, they're looking for Logan. They're like, where are you, Mr. Logan? I'm going to find you. I want to stop and make a point. Do you notice that the younger generation of mutants seem to be more mutated, or is that just me? Or just Morlocks more accepted, I guess, since it's Krakoa and everyone's accepted type of
They
situation.
that would be a good caveat to it that there's just this large integration of the Morlock society, and that's why the more physically mutated mutants are more prevalent. But at the same time, like that would be the only explanation, because any other way it would be weird. It would be like, well, yeah, there are some like that. There are some very weirdly mutated like mutants. Like it's like right out of Futurama, like the mutants that lived under New York
Yeah.
City. Like that girl's got tentacle arms, like she's part octopus.
Yeah.
That kid can't
Uh,
decide if he wants to be an alien or a butterfly. Like he's a bit of
yeah.
everything. That one dude doesn't even have like the yellow dude who looks like a bird doesn't even have eyes. He's just got like little tiny tentacles that stick out of his face.
Yeah. I don't even know what that is.
And then
Just
that
feel
other dude could be like a cousin of Beak.
yeah, it's just Beak's cousin.
I'm just gonna refer to him as Beak's cousin from now on if I ever see him
Yeah.
again.
Um
I dig his jacket. He looks like Ash Ketchum from Pokemon. He's got the red hat and the blue
who
jacket next.
does?
Yeah.
backwards hat and all. But they kind of just give up. They're you know they're younglings. They're used to like sixth place trophies, so they give up and they get the adults to help them. And Jean Craig comes in. They're all like, and she's like, "You'll have to forgive Logan. He does everything too hard." And then you just hear, I guess it's in Jean's mind. You hear Logan just like, don't do it, don't do it, Jean, don't you dare.
Don't you do it, you son of a bitch!
And she
Took me
just,
hours to get this hiding spot.
yeah. And he just comes straight out of like, is he from coming out of like the top of the tree, or was he in these bushes from the bottom? You think?
Uh, if I follow like kind of the arc that the like bramble and like vines are making off of him, it looks like he was
In the
in
tree,
in the tree, like
in the
legit,
tree.
like hiding on the tree,
Yeah.
just out of their field of view and some like covered in like some vines and like shrubbery that he brought up with him. Oh man, it's a good hiding spot.
It's great. It's great because you just see he's just like as he's getting pulled away, he's just like fuck, and he's just like at the perfect spot, and then some kid just comes up to him and he's like, "Don't say the swears."
um, for
So it's
Wolverine
great.
is they brought him down a couple pegs.
Yeah,
It's almost comical to see Wolverine like
it's
this,
interesting, right? He's like the fun, lovable uncle.
which
Um,
is great.
but it's great. He's still Logan because he's just straight up swore while he was getting
He
yanked out of
did.
that tree. He's like fuck, and everyone's just like he made a swear again. Oh, that's just Uncle Logan.
Uncle Logie. Poor Logie. This is dangerous territory because it's kind of reminiscent during like the Jean Grey School of Learning saga where he was like the headmaster of like the school, like the
Mhm.
new reiteration
The
Xavier
new
School
one,
after
yeah.
Schism, and I'm like, okay, Wolverine's funny, but it's like he's like the angry commander on a police force in an 80s movie where he's like, you dadgum mutants getting out there, my ass is on fire and tan red. Darn it, you need to fly straight. You go all screwing around. I'm like, this is so bizarre. Like,
Right.
why isn't Wolverine murdering anyone?
Right?
They got him on a leash.
They do. Crackle is too safe. Too safe. He's getting the itch. Getting the itch. He needs to slice something.
What's
But
from here though, pretty quickly.
mhm. Yeah, but and then Jean Grey's just like, yo, someone else trying to find you. Why don't you go down to Hellfire Bay to find out? And they go to Hellfire Bay and we're met with my girl, my internet fake girlfriend, Kate Pride, just hanging out. Don't look at her. She's mine.
She does look quite proud standing there.
Yeah. But she's standing there waiting for Logan. Logan's late. And he makes up something. He's just like, there was a problem in Marrakesh. Professor asked me, and she's just like, nah, man. Gene told me what you were doing. You were playing hide and seek. Don't do that. You can't pussyfoot around me. What are you, a pussyfooter now? And he's just like, yeah, I'm kind of a pussyfooter now.
He got me for a second though too because I was reading it and I was like, "Wait, what happened in Marrakesh?" And I was like thinking for a second. And I'm like, "No, he's pulling one over on her and me
Yeah.
apparently." Well played, Wolverine.
Well played. So Kitty just pulls him aside, and then we get this next page, which was super overwhelming. When I
Yes,
saw this,
visually correct, right? For one panel, it
it
was.
is super busy. This is way too much happening in one page.
Yeah, it was like something out of like a New York Times like comic spread or like the Sunday morning like cartoons where they like take 12 panels to tell one joke
Yeah.
and you're like, what the I don't even care. You lost me after panel 6. Like,
Right.
what's happening?
But they're just drinking together more or less, and Kitty just kind of mentions like, "Why do you like the cheap shit? I could get you like that good stuff and whatnot." And and then she's they're just kind of opening up to one another, right? Because like they had this kind of relationship in the past too, right?
Yeah, it's like the men she's always been kind of like a mentee to him being her mentor.
Right.
And now that Kitty's become a full blown alcoholic, like they're even better friends.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and
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 she's
and
okay.
to comment on his having to drink the cheap shit, I mean, is she not factoring in his healing ability? I mean, his healing factor must make it damn near impossible to get drunk. So he has to drink like 1 point away from battery acid type of alcohol just to have any type of impact.
Right. Yeah.
The smooth stuff's probably like water to him, and he's like, "eh." And then she's already tipsy, and it looks like they're only a few panels in.
Yeah. I would say let's see, panel 4. No, panel like 7. Damn, there's so many panels. There's like 12
Yeah,
panels on this page.
he's yeah. There's sets of 3 sets of 4. Yeah, there's 12. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and she's drunk. She got tipsy super quick. And she even lets that out to him a little bit. But she's just like, yo, I'm happy. We got a home, yo. You can play it safe. You can pussyfoot now. You don't have to worry anymore. Things are good. Life's good. Keep
This
on
is
keeping on.
great. I mean, he's great, man. Like, just have a great time. Like, just pour me another round. I really feel like the extra paneling almost was to highlight her like tipsiness with like her motions of like hitting the table and like stretching across the table to like pat him on the arm and stuff.
Right.
Well, that's at least that plays out well within all of this.
Yeah. And then he's just like, cut the crap, get to the story. Why am I here? Why am I here, Kitty? And we find out that essentially we are losing some petals uh, from some crackling flowers. And the reason that they know this is because they control both the black markets and the real public markets. So they know exactly to a T where everything is of their products, and still they're missing some flowers.
There's weight discrepancies, head will roll.
This
Uh-huh.
doesn't fly. This does not fly.
Big Daddy Xavier don't take that shit. He's the one that knocks.
Oh, Heisenberg,
Uh,
Heisenex.
yeah.
Um, good stuff. But we cut to Baltimore. Baltimore.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, man. We're sorry. This is rough. This is
This
Wolverine.
is
We
weird,
go to the roughest places this side of the Mississippi.
right? Yeah, Baltimore, of all places. Um, and we're met with this guy, and he's talking to a CIA agent, right? And they're essentially like looking at this like crime lab that went awry. Someone fucked someone up here, right?
Yeah, or more like they fucked themselves up
Or
here.
they fucked themselves
as
up from
as they
taking
kind of
whatever
as
this
Agent
is.
Bannister kind of calls out instantly. He's just like,
Yeah,
wait a second, this crime scene don't make no sense. Like, look at all these wounds. Like
yeah,
they're like self implied. Like, how are you gonna say that this was a massacre when something weird fucking went down here?
yeah,
And really, the lady's just focusing on how he's rocking like a Hawaiian overshirt and
yeah.
flip flops and jeans.
Right, and sandals. Don't forget the sandals.
Oh, yeah, sandals, and has the weirdest head wound that we have no backstory on. It's just
Yeah.
literally a hair is missing, and there's like a circular flesh wound to the right of his skull.
Uh, but yeah, he mentions that they just killed themselves, right?
Yeah,
Self-inflicted wounds,
right.
and they go back and he like take does he taste it or yeah
No,
no
he
he just
notices right
smells
away
it.
that something's off because he's pretty familiar with being someone who is usually first on hand to investigate these types of crimes, like drug lab like breakdowns and grow ops and things like that. And he's commenting on the fact that all those places usually smell horrific. Like they smell burnt, they smell like dead bodies, they smell bad. It's never a fun odor. But here, instantly he notices the aroma reminds him of like
Yes,
a garden
it's
and like
yeah,
yeah,
floral.
it's floral and it's like a garden and grandma's is like a Joker reference he
Yeah,
makes is he's like that's what this place smells like, and it's the floral smell that brings him into what the product is, which he notices like pollen, straight up
oh
green powdery pollen.
yes, the
Looks like
good shit.
Keith.
It does look like Eve. It does. I would try it. Well, no, not after the stabbing. Maybe not. Maybe is it worth it?
Like the
Is it?
Italian we walk in, we're like, well, that does look pretty dank. Like, let's give it a shot, man.
Yeah.
Come on. But what about the bodies? Well, that could be a coincidence. It's always a good
Yeah.
thing.
Why not?
Oh yeah. But yeah, it's very CSI up in this bitch right now.
Yes, yes, it is very CSI. So they're kind of just following the trail of where these drugs are, and this is where we're kind of finding out where some of these loose petals went,
Yeah, because
more
this
or
is on the
less.
American side. This dude straight up, he's
Hmm.
CIA, right? He's not for them. Yeah, CIA.
Yeah,
Yeah, because the mutant whole nation is a foreign affair. So this now becomes CIA thing.
exactly. Um, so this is interesting side story that we're kind of developing on the side, but we cut to the Order of X, and
Who's
through the Order of X.
such weird, such a metal name. Like we are the Order of X. We love to rock.
But
That's
Order of X is just like a cult that like pretty much like they worship mutants, right? They see
they're
them as
fanatical.
they
Yeah,
they
they're like
they
trying to
acknowledge
position it.
them as the next evolutionary state and whatnot. And there's no leader, there's no effective leader, practice, or text. No church, and it's just these people more or less hanging out at the portals, just trying to get impregnated by mutants, right? Have my babies. I want that X gene.
Well, they consider the mutants to be almost divine, so it's like being touched by a god
By
to them.
God, yeah,
Like it's the biggest, oh gosh, the biggest form of praise you could ever receive in the order is to be impregnated by a mutant. Like that's literally the highest compliment to them. Like you have achieved greatness with that by offering your physical body up to the mutants as like a vessel to bring in a new generation. So it's so trippy. It's really like Church of Jim Jones kind of stuff
a little bit.
because it feels like you get the fanatics like here and there, and they're like the people get naked doing the weird stuff. But then there's those people where they're like, no, you must mate with the mutants, and it's like I feel there are like less fanatical versions of the Order of the X, and then there's people that are higher up the food chain that are like, yeah, crazy stuff, let's do it.
Yeah, and we get that at the bottom. Though their overall theology appears to be based on devotion and humility, there are extremists who appear to believe that sacrifice and consumption of Homo superior is the path to higher plane. Hmm. What
Oh
will that
wow.
lead to? I wonder.
They took that
Uh,
whole translating bringing the mutant inside of you to a whole nother level. They're
yeah,
like,
they
no,
did.
let them impregnate you and eat them.
Yeah.
Just you know, that gets the mutant inside you and gets flowing. And then you're one for about 48 hours.
Yes. And it's right at
Flush
the
that
ball.
mutant down. Oh,
Oh,
dude, there's like a toad joke in there about frogs' legs. I mean, they're going to France later. I just now made that connection. All right.
oh, well done.
Uh,
So we cut to 4 days ago on Krakoa still, and we get Logan with Sage. Yeah, and they're talking about what are they talking about right
they're
now?
trying to close
Oh,
in on how the leaves are essentially, or the petals specifically, are starting to diminish, and that the numbers need to be checked based off of the amount of pollen emission that they're getting. So they're trying
gotcha.
to hone in using that as a graph to kind of build their search. They're like, all right, if the cocoon flower pollen ratio is higher in one geographical location versus another, and the numbers of actual black market and on the market like goods had not reached that level, then there is clearly a discrepancy and it needs to be investigated in that particular area. And she's breaking it down using her computer mentat abilities. And she's like,
Yeah.
look, I got it all right here for you, Logan. This time I figured it out. You're gonna
Look,
do this because he doesn't understand like what
no,
she's doing and what she's explaining. He's like,
no.
I just need to punch and stab things. Tell me to punch and stab.
Yeah. Because she's like, you're the one who figures out who I punch and stab.
Exactly. Like that was a brilliant little throwaway. I liked
I
it.
love that. I love that. Yeah, it was great. Um, and then they find out it's in Russia, pretty much. Bam! It isolated,
Yep.
and
that shit down.
so they found a high pollen count, right?
Yeah, an
In
abnormal pollen count for that
Abnormal.
area. Because some
Yes.
places do have a pollen count that's high, but that's because they're pumping like goods into them a lot that they can actually keep track of. That's normal business.
It's kind of fascinating. I just want to stop and note that, like, the economy of scale on Krakoa, because everyone's a mutant, is like so high that you could run a nation, even though there's like hundreds of thousands of mutants, right? Or there's
Uh,
millions, right?
Now there are because they're bringing
Yeah.
back the amount. I mean, Genosha lost like 2 million when that got wiped out. So, and they brought back a lot of those people. So there's got to be at least 1 million plus.
Um, yeah. It seems like I forgot what I was gonna say actually.
You were saying about the economy, like how the economy skews
Oh,
between the two, like the
like
ratio.
it kind of be scales like so there's so many mutants, but it seems like it's being ran by only like you could run a whole nation with like I would say 100 of those mutants are like
Oh
actually
yeah,
running.
it's super streamlined.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
it's
it's
crazy.
super efficient, super streamlined, super like efficient, you know. And I just wanted to comment on like that efficiency. Like this is like because that's what they're trying to do. They're like, hey, you taught us like even Magneto was saying, you taught us humans taught us one thing, it's civilizations, and we're gonna do that, but we're gonna do that better. And this is we're seeing that kind of in action because it's just like we got Sage. Sage is like, all right, here it is. We isolated it, and then we cut to the next page. He's already suited up. He already got X Force and Gateway. Take us there, and we're there. And
It's
it's just so
perfect.
quick, and efficient, you know. And I really dig that. But going back to this page with the gateway, um, what else does he mention? He wants to get there quick, and he has a moment with the Jean here where they kind of hold hands, and he's like, "I want to, but keep your claws popped and your friends close." I thought that line was pretty interesting. And then they kind of hold hands,
It's
but then
pretty
they all
sweet.
hold hands. It looks like they're all holding hands at the end of
It
that panel.
kind of does,
It
but they're all
kind
drawn
of,
really close to each
it's
other,
really
so that
hard
could
to tell.
be the issue.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's hinting at something, but I think it's just friendship, very close friendship. It's been 60 years. It's people,
Yeah.
you know. Uh,
Jean is 60 years old technically. 70 now actually, but whatever.
yeah.
She doesn't look a damn 20.
We cut back to Baltimore, and we get uh, his name, Jeff. We learned his name is Jeff. It seems. Um, and they're like, is he like? He's like having a reaction to the pollen, pretty much. Like they just a
No,
couple
he's
people,
actually kind of lamenting about the
or
situation
he's
because
lamenting it. Okay.
there's stuff going on with his daughter, and Bannister essentially finds out that he's there's more going on to what could help his daughter, and that's kind of what they're foreshadowing right now. But he's getting his dossier delivered straight from like one of the other CIA operatives above him, like his handler, it seems, and that's more information on what to do to proceed. And she's kind of pissed because she's like, I could have emailed this to you, and he's like, I'm old school, I do paperwork. But right now, you just see him kind of entering into that situation, just being tired and kind of just like, oh man, I don't want to deal with this shit.
Okay, I totally read these first panels wrong when I first read it. I thought he was like having a reaction to that little bit that he like kind of and like, but right, he didn't even. I'm tripping. That's what it
Yeah,
is.
he's just stressed out because in the next panel, you see why. Like, they literally
Yeah,
see his daughter and what
yeah,
she's going through.
exactly. And they kind of just go and they walk him to this room, and when he goes into this room, he sees his daughter, and his daughter is
Looks like she has
pretty.
leukemia or
Looks
something,
like she's yeah struggling with something, and
maybe cancer.
yeah,
Yeah,
and he's
no,
just
no
like
eyebrows. She's on chemo. That's what it looks like.
yeah,
That's what's happening.
no, chemo is definitely happening. Um, and he's just all like he's talking about the pedals. He's like, there's pedals, there's these drugs, these
These hip
antibiotic
drugs on the
pedals.
street kids are doing.
Yeah, all these cool drugs that kids are doing, but there's a group of people that are keeping it. He's pretty much just like they're keeping it for themselves and
Bad people.
bad people. Yeah, bad people. He
That's,
called them bad people.
yeah, they do bad stuff in bold.
Um,
Your
and
daddy's
it's
gonna go stop those bad men and get you the drugs you need.
exactly. He's just
Stay
kind
right here.
of
Yes, that's pretty much what it is. It's that kind of trope.
yeah.
Uh,
Daddy's it's pretty much Sandman and
oh shit! And
Spider-Man 3 and Spider-Man
Spider-Man
3.
3, the happening joint.
I'm gonna
Yes.
murder all these people because I love my daughter.
And then Toby Maguire breaks out his sick moves. Look at those dance moves, Toby.
Yeah, finger snaps for days.
Oh, a lot of pelvis thrusting too. It was really awkward. I was like, what is happening? The black symbiote was supposed to make you cooler. What happened? This is the opposite effect. Oh, but yeah, things don't look too good for his daughter, and I kind of wonder if that's why his head has that kind of gash in it.
Like he did like some brain marrow like transplant or something to help her.
Yeah, like something along that lines, because
Maybe.
it would make more sense instead of just like, oh, this is an old flesh wound from my war days or something stupid. That was a weird thing to throw away too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Maybe we'll find out. Maybe we won't. But we cut to blood work. We get kind of like some dialogue on this blood type.
Yeah, we get
Yeah,
some good biological blood breakdown
and this is pretty technical for the most part.
Oh yes, very much on like not only kind of like bridging the gap between like the sci-fi medium, but also pulling it more on like the actual reality of the technical medical field.
Yeah, and this is specifically referring to they just kind of break down like the four blood groups and what happens depending on certain antibodies and antigens and whatnot. And it's talking specifically about Wolverine's blood type and how it's complicated and not all blood types are alike. And there's exceptions at the bottom of it, but essentially they call his blood type endless, right?
Yeah, E for
E neg
endless. He's type
yeah,
E. Yeah,
which is
because
interesting.
they use him as a contrast. Like we diverge from science and go into the sci-fi when they're like, and the math is further complicated by Wolverine. And then they break down how his blood is not like anyone else's blood and how it constantly reproduces and it constantly renews and it's able to use its autoimmune system to fight off crazy things like they mentioned vampirization and all this other stuff. Like, and then they also use it to like kind of compare how a vampire's blood works and how the blood's unique to
Yes.
Wolverine and how that like Wolverine's blood is very special because inside him is what makes it special. Once taken out of him, Wolverine's blood comes a different kind of story.
Yes. Except for when exposed to ultraviolet light, it does not deteriorate outside of his body.
Yeah, that's the one way to like house it and keep it, I guess, in a continue functioning state. Which is funny because then I wonder like who's got like a bunch of storage units with ultraviolet light filled with Wolverine blood. We got to figure out how to live forever. It works for Wade. Let's see if it'll work for us. He's like, I'm crazy and I have cancer though. And they're like, well, immortality.
Yeah, and then we get these like genetic graphs at the bottom, which are interesting. What do you think of these graphs?
I like that they're using like kind of the skeletal structures from like chemistry and they're starting to break down into that kind of technical design. Hickman's been doing a lot of good joining of different types of branches of science and like fields of study into the building blocks of this like X-Men story. Like it feels like there's a lot of like technical build around it. Like when you play like a tabletop game, like how
Yeah.
there's a lot of technical building going into it and the rule sets and a lot of those things. I like how he's using already tools that exist in in our current contemporary time to kind of flush out his X-Men stories and his X-Men universe that he's building on.
Oh yeah, it's great. You got some chemistry, you got some genetics, you got a lot of like futurism thoughts and technology when it comes to like the whole like ascension and whatnot. It's pretty much the singularity.
Yeah, yeah, it bridges between a lot of those ideas because they started that all the way back in the beginning of House and Powers, and like this is just
Yeah.
this is the continuation, the newer generation of like more of that. and it's really cool because you actually get to learn a little bit about like some weird concepts. And now I can tell people that you know about E negative, man. That's Wolverine's blood type. It's
Right?
endless.
It's
Literally
endless,
doesn't end.
yo.
Dude's a fountain. Let's put him on tap.
Yep.
Vampires
And
love this dude.
I actually do literally put them on tap later in this.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that, folks. It's great.
See, I brought the Wolverine.
Oh, break it out. Break out the good stuff. Oh man. But we cut to 3 days ago, Russia. Um, and we see this cult, this what is it again? Order of X? Order of
Remember
X
that?
group.
That
And they're
black metal
just
band, yeah.
yeah, we are Order of X. We are here to slay
Yeah,
you.
from Sweden.
We're from Sweden. Um, and as they're kind of worshiping, all of a sudden, uh, there they go. Gateway pops in and brings in X Force, and they're all looking. They're just all like, well, I guess this isn't so much for a stealth at recon.
I like their reluctance too, like the Order of X, like especially like the dude is preaching. It's just like kind of look of just like, are you serious? Like fucking mutants here.
It's great. Yeah, they're just like, oh, hey, yeah, mutants. And then they're like, yeah, mutants. And they're all being translated this from Russian via Jean Grey. She's psychically doing her thing. And Kid
Well,
Omega's like, oh, go ahead.
unfortunately, it's like there's so much chaos going on with the amount of people. It's like she's just like trying to hop around and get any little bit of information she can, but everyone's kind of thinking so many radical thoughts that she's just like, holy shit, this is overwhelming. Like these people are nuts. It's like trying to read the mind of like 100 telepath or 100 like fanatical zealots all thinking their own crazy thoughts at once and trying to digest that. Because like the second you start to like digest one person like that, you hear what they're thinking, you're like, whoa, what the fuck? But if you did it like 1,000 times at once, it would just I can't even imagine that kind of emotion that would hit you to like understand 1,000 crazy
Right?
stories in
Imagine,
instant.
yeah, like imagine you pop into a cult right
Yeah.
before they drink the Kool-Aid and you have the ability to hear everything they're thinking before that moment.
Because we've all had one person where they're like, man, what was that crazy person thinking? But like, what if you did that to like 1,000 people that could hear what they're thinking?
Right? At the
That'd be
same
intense.
time. At the same time, being able to navigate that.
She's
That
no
is
Omega
intense.
level mutant, and she's
Like
just like, oh fuck.
I wouldn't want that power. You need such a strong will to have that
Yeah.
power. I would just like go insane, probably having that power, that much power.
Yeah.
Thoughts, just the thoughts of other people in my head all the time.
Well, that was like that moment in X2 where she was in like that mall and she was just like her telepathy kicked on like against her will and she's just like, fuck. Save me, Scott.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
uh,
Um. Yeah, and Team Gray's just like I'm getting mixed messages, and while that's happening, Kid Omega's like, yeah, I like this, but then as they're doing that, I guess the leader, or whatever the guy's, the preacher at least, is just like, time for the
yeah.
communion. First, we taste of the Krakoan host, and it seems like
Pollen.
they got the pollen, they got the
Sweet,
good
sweet
stuff,
hot pollen.
and they dip. What do we call it? What are we gonna call this? We need like a
Eh,
dabbing type term for like for this dipping, cracking. We're cracking some of that cracking.
For Cohen? Yeah, Kraken. Yeah.
Yeah, we're cracking this.
Get
Um,
Kraken. It's like Jamaican.
so we're getting
Crack 'em.
cracking. Crack 'em. Oh, it's like jankum.
Yeah.
uh,
Oh, jeez. Oh.
uh, but as they're drinking this, and we see some of these people kind of starting to go mad a little bit. But as this is happening, Kid Omega's just like, "Yeah, these are my people. Let's do this. Woo!" He's just, he just rise that crowd. Um, and it's great. And as this is happening, Gene's just like, oh wait, no, these people are going crazy right now. Shit's going down. Like their thoughts change or something. She's just like, nah, this isn't right anymore. And the preacher's just like, time to drink, and everyone's just going savage. And Kid Omega's just like, oh no, bad touch.
Yeah, Do you guys remember that I was at that freaking Order of X concert crowd surfing and the people tried to eat me, man? These kids are wild. The
Uh,
Swedes, watch out. Oh, geez. Yeah, that turned fast, like bad fast on him. I like his face, how it's drawn too.
right.
Uh,
But we get this interesting next page. Is this a full panel? Is this this is a full page spread, right?
yeah,
The next page,
I mean,
yeah.
the top and bottom would be like you could consider those panels, so not necessarily,
I mean,
but pretty.
not a one page spread, but like a 2 page full spread
I
or something.
don't know.
This covers 2 pages. It's wider than it looks really wide. That's why.
That would make sense, and that would probably be what happened with the one that we read earlier, where it had like the 12 panels. Maybe
Yeah,
that was
that was definitely a
spread.
2 page spread for
Yeah.
sure.
Even
Oh,
though still as a two-page spread, that was still too much.
still too
Too
much.
cumbersome. This works perfect.
But this is great. We get these two long shots, one at the top where we just see the silhouettes of like the preacher and X Force, along with just this massive crowd of red going savage, and you just see the grand scale of how many people there are, and then we get this amazing action pose. Look at this art. This is beautiful. Look at this. Look at Wolverine. Wolverine at his finest, right there.
And apparently, I didn't notice this until now, but Jean Grey's rack at her finest too.
Yeah,
That's a pretty solid rack. I also like that little background face of Gateway. He
Gateway.
looks like really pissed off and ready to throw down,
He's
which is
ready.
rare
Yeah.
for Gateway because normally he's kind of just like hands off with a lot of his stuff. But I
Yeah.
like how he's just super stern and ready, and he's just like silhouetted by Jean Grey's boobs.
Yeah. And we got Domino doing like too much hunching of the back.
She's
Straighten the
trying to
back a
dodge
little
the
bit.
upper panel, but see, Jean Grey doesn't care if she breaks the panel. She goes
Right.
into that upper panel like nobody's business. She's
Yeah.
like, I
That
transcend the
panel.
panels. Domino's like ducking, like she's like, oh shit, I almost got cut off by the previous scene. uh,
But Logan just mentions don't murder him unless you have to. And then we just like we're gonna see a moment in a second, but and then he just kind of snicks his way through a bunch of them. He doesn't kill them. He just kind of, except for one, it looks like he takes one head off at the end or at
I
the on the
can't.
right side. I can't tell. It's
That's hard
really
to tell
hard.
too. Yeah, it looks kind of like a bloody explosion on that dude's face. I mean, it could just be that the blood coming out of his face is blocking the view of his face, but it also does look like a pool of like blood just there. Like there's no longer a head; it's just
Yeah.
like a head exploded. Like he popped it like a cherry.
Right.
Ooh,
Oh man,
I didn't
rough.
notice that one right away, but yeah, once you pointed that out, I was like, oh yeah, that head looks like it's gone.
Right? I mean, he tried. Maybe he tried. He said, "If you have to, you have to." Maybe he had to.
Everyone
But
else before the line got jacked up pretty bad, but not like Dunzo. But
oh yeah, they're all gonna have limps for sure. But we see a bunch of these cultists, people, Dogpile, Kid Omega, and he has this pretty interesting line. He says, "I'd prefer to be your god, but I'm happy to be your devil." And he just does like this psychic blast. He's like, "Bam, boom."
yeah, it looks like he pulls out his psychic shotgun and just
Out his
lights him up.
shotgun, yeah, and then he pulls out his psychic shotgun and gets down.
Yeah,
Right.
he didn't heed Wolverine's advice as much as Wolverine barely heeded his own as well. He just like went right to it. He's just like, let's just kill him. I'm a god.
Yeah.
Even Jean in the next page has to like, man, we wanted some of them alive
Yeah.
for questioning.
Just,
Can't question dead people.
it's just like Quentin. He's like, it's not like they don't deserve it.
Yeah,
And he's like, Quentin.
Stop killing the cultists. They
Yeah.
don't know any better. They're crazy.
And then, Jean Grey mentions it's not Kid Omega that's it's interesting. She's like, it's not Kid Omega that's killing them. We need to figure out, and we need to, and then she just cuts off, and then we get this like silhouetted version of everyone, and she's like, it's the pollen. Oh, it's the pollen.
They're tripping on that pollen hard.
Yeah.
They're cracking
So
out.
like in that moment, just the way the direction of the panels were, where she's kind of talking and she's like, "We have to find out," and then she stops and then she's just like, "It's pollen." I feel like she's like, "Oh, she found one guy alive," and kind of glanced at that thought real quick and just like, "Oh, I figured it out."
Yeah,
So
like
because it's, I know
tapped
it's
into.
just like, or are they referencing the smoke as like, "Oh, it's the smoke from the pollen."
That
Uh,
could be what's rising out of them, but it also feels like that's like just a nice little silhouette to what she's saying to say that like this is the pollen and
yeah,
this is it in the background kind of going around it. So I get that feeling like that's what they're going for, is to highlight that yeah she could tell it's the pollen because that's what the smell and maybe because that guy doesn't, none of them look alive, like they all look pretty dead. It
yeah,
looked like maybe Wolverine and Kid Omega like off a handful of them, but regardless they were gonna die anyway.
yeah. So it's okay.
Yeah.
It was all good. They would have died. Uh, so we cut to from there one day ago, Moscow, and we're at this like club. Looks like they're at this club near the Kremlin, and Wolverine just kind of walks in the club, and
You get the iconic architecture in Russia.
oh yeah, you see that the Kremlin in the background, those buildings, Tetris buildings, as I like to call them.
Yep.
But Logan just kind of storms in and drops his duffel bag and unzips it, and we see a Order of X kind of member right in the head. And he's like, "Look familiar?
Friend of yours?
You know this guy?"
Yeah, because they pull guns on him like they could do anything. And Wolverine's like, knock that shit off. Like you'd have been, if you wanted you dead, you'd all be dead. Like, do you not know who I am? Look at this weird haircut. Nobody else has this haircut except Beast. And that was in the 90s.
And it's interesting. It seems like they're cutting. He beats him. He kind of beats him up a little bit, and he says, "Oh, like you sold him and his loonies some bad dope and pollen. Cut into it." So it's interesting that they're using it almost like fentanyl. How people use fentanyl these days to cut like into like cocaine and heroin.
Or like how they
Uh,
step on stuff. Like just in general, how like cocaine will come up and then people will even use like amphetamines just in general. Or
yeah,
heroin will be cut with like unique stuff that'll, or even ecstasy where
yeah,
it's like you
sure.
don't know what's
Ecstasy
in
too.
it and it makes you OD. So that's like essentially the same concept.
Um, and he's threatening this kind of mob boss person. He's just like, "Where'd you get the flowers? Where'd you get the flowers?" And he's just like, "From her." He's like, her. And he says, "The pale girl." Um, and Logan's just like, "Keep going. Okay, I'm listening." Um, and he just kind of says that what does he say? He stole the petals from Slovakia to try to garden their own versions of it, right? And she sells the pollen to him.
Yeah, exactly. And he's threatening him while doing that really like classic Wolverine move where he opens two of his claws on each side
Yes.
of your neck, and it's like you know the
Uh-huh.
third one is coming because he showed it to him already.
Yeah.
I forget if we went over this or if they like ever explained it, but how come Wolverine when resurrected came back with his adamantium? Did they just because they can warp reality and stuff just make them like because Proteus can warp reality and he's one of the five, so
Right.
I assume he can create adamantium. I mean, he turned his claws into snakes in that one episode of fucking X-Men animated series where he like pulled his claws
Yeah.
on him and Proteus were like, your claws are snakes and they're attacking you, and Logan was like, ah. Freak the fuck out.
Oh
He's
my
like shaking
god.
afterwards. They had to like comfort him and shit. He's like, it's all so real. So real. I was like, geez, Logan, we never seen you like fucking what's out
Right.
on us. He's like, you weren't there. I guess that makes sense. It's just
I
this moment really reminded me of that because I was like, oh yeah, he has adamantine claws, but he died. Like if they revived him as the way he was, he shouldn't have them, but who knows?
I did read a Reddit thread that someone also mentioned it was probably Proteus is doing and just willed adamantium onto him.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
that's the last classic Wolverine right here. I like this.
yeah, he pops this dude's bottles and just drinks his alcohol
Yeah.
as he's telling him the pale girl.
Right off the handle too, like not even pouring himself a glass. He's just like, "Oh, this was for all of you. I'm gonna solo this bottle."
Yeah, and what is he? He's pretty much saying how he got this scar, right? Because she made him do it, the pale
Yeah,
girl.
like he used the
Yeah,
lighter and like held the lighter into his eye and like burnt it away, and now
Yeah.
weird false eye that looks like a galaxy.
Galaxy in it. Yeah.
That weird galaxy like necklace that the cat had on its neck on and Men in Black One, like well,
Yes.
Ryan's. Yeah,
Oh, and I should mention this all started because Wolverine mentioned there's psionic dampeners in this room. And he's so this whole conversation is like, yeah, we have, yeah, now we need to protect ourselves. So that's why we have these psionic dampeners to protect us from
not to
her.
keep any of them out, but out. Yeah, the pale girl. She has psychic abilities. It almost sounds like a take on like the Purple Man.
A little bit, yeah. Good old perps.
The mauve dude. I'm the Viridian guy.
uh, Too many. Okay,
They're
let's
really playing on.
go.
I
They're
hope that's.
really playing.
We'll find out. I might be
Fine.
wrong, and there might be something about the pale girl, but it almost feels like that's what they're going for.
Uh, so we go cut to earlier today, the Point Karakawa. Uh, and we cut between this and CIA headquarters, Langley, Virginia, right?
Yeah.
So we're looking kind of, yeah, and so we're seeing kind of Beast and Logan talking about how they're kind of tracking everywhere. They're looking on the dark web. They're like using bots to scroll social media to see anyone talking about consuming the flowers. And everyone's talking about it, but no one's talking about consuming it. And then we, on the other side, we get kind of the CIA officer kind of talking about like synthetic knockoffs and how the cartel's kind of taking down the competition. And I don't see the comparison between the two. It's just besides a war, right? They're kind of alluding to like a war is like a drug war is happening.
So the contrast I can pick up on here is that you see from the mutant side on Krakoa them trying to check the back channels of like the more illicit ends of trying to snoop out the dark web and find any information they can on about illegal spread of the flowers.
Mhm.
And then this is more the and then on the CIA end, they're investigating the outcome of those flowers being used and like people dying, and they're trying to trace it back towards the mutants. Like they're working towards the X-Men and trying to find the in-between cartels that are working things, and the X-Men are trying to find the cartels that are essentially stealing from them. So they're both
Gotcha.
working towards like almost the same goal in a
Sim,
different
yeah.
way, but very similar, just kind of juxtaposed enough to never really intersect.
And yeah, this is when Logan, or not Logan, it's actually Beast saying that there's like a drug war coming, and people, and then Logan's just like, people are going to blame us. Where's the blame?
Yeah.
And it cuts to uh, this. What's his name again? I already got the CIA
Agent
agent's
Bannister, I believe
Bannister.
is yeah.
Yeah, and he's kind of figuring out like they probably control the black markets as well. And this is just kind of him kind of uh,
Unraveling the
unraveling it a
greater
little bit.
paradigm of what the
Yeah,
mutants are doing in their essential pharmaceutical racketeering operation.
yeah, and he talks about like kind of going in and uh, kind of directly working with the flower cartel, like
Yeah, they're using like espionage to counteract what the mutants are doing, and
more or
the
less.
mutants
Yeah,
are
that's it.
using the dark web and the underground markets to kind of forward their means and their information. Yeah.
Right. But we cut to somewhere in Alaska, and we're back to Logan kind of walking that we saw from the first couple pages.
Yeah, right in the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, right from the beginning, and he's still kind of just lamenting as he's walking down, still talking about his past, his demons. I've done terrible things. People should stay away from me. Like just super self-deprecating.
I'm a
Uh,
monster. I'm
yeah,
dangerous. I'm a wild beast. I hurt everything I love. The typical Wolverine rant.
yeah. And as he's still lamenting, we kind of see this like white aura kind of at the bottom.
Would you say it's a pale aura?
a pale aura, if you will. And we cut to the next page, which is we see her, as he says, the pale girl, and she looks like an ice demon
Yeah, or like
sorts.
Shiva from like Final
Shiva,
Fantasy.
yeah, Shiva. Oh yeah,
A little bit.
little
Yeah.
bit. And Wolverine's natural reactions is to whip out his claws, and as he does, he's like, "You did this to me. It was all you." And these like people come up to him. He's like, "What? What are you talking about? Who are you talking to? Are you talking to us?
Yeah,
Who
because
are
she
you?"
fades out of view as they're running
Yeah,
in, like she was almost a ghost.
she's kind of like a ghost, an illusion
Yeah.
of some sort. Uh, and then they're just all like, "Who the hell are you?" And he's just like, look at the sad face that they drew for Logan at this bottom panel.
They
Look at
also
this
want the Logan pose, the old man Logan pose, but
old
they
man
drew
Logan
such
pose.
a
Yeah,
this face was more gritty and like a normal sad. This is like almost cartoon sad.
it's
Like
weird.
this is
Yeah,
like I'm so sad.
yeah, like
Like Groovy dog.
Yeah, droopy,
Yeah.
super. It's interesting artistic choice. That's the thing that kind of pointed like you're supposed to be sad, but I just kind of like smiled when I saw that.
Yeah, I did. I got that he was sad, but it was so
Yeah,
obvious it was comical.
right.
Like that frown was massive.
Uh, but yeah, when they're like, "Who the hell are you?" and he's just like, "I've been wondering the same thing," and he's all sad.
My father.
Who am I?
Oh shoot.
He just goes back into his like long diatribe. He's just all like, "I'm a nobody. I have no family. No one loves me." He's like, ah,
Every
gosh.
woman I love died. And
Uh,
Sabretooth killed them.
every
Sabretooth.
time.
He used to be my friend.
Now he's inside of a mutant that's an island that we all live on.
It cuts to like one of those transitions that's like 6 hours later. And then they brought me back to life after I had died again for the sixth time. At least this time I didn't have to go to hell.
But that ends part one of Wolverine. Danny, what did you think of part one?
I liked it in just the an overall sense of like how it compares to the other comics in Dawn of X,
Yeah.
but um, it it has its issues that I want to hold off on judging too much until the next Wolverine arc comes out. Like the next, not like part two, but just like the overall once the Wolverine issue two comes out,
Yes.
and that gets kind of dissected and broken down visually to me again with not only the story and how they use the characters. Like once I see that, I will make my true judgment. But for right now, I like what they're doing. I understand some of the risks they're taking, and art wise, like as funny as some of this stuff may be, I still like the artwork overall.
Oh man,
I
that
still like.
classic pose when they fought the Order of Vex was so amazing. I dug that. That put such a great smile on my face.
That was a lot of fun to be had, and just like in just taking in that image and how it just kind of spread out, and you were just like, yeah, they're throwing down. Even fucking Gateway looks like he's ready to cause some
Right?
trouble. I
Gateway's
like that. All right.
he didn't really do anything, but he was ready.
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't. He didn't really do anything, but he looks super ready.
Right?
Oh, oh man.
Um
Did you get that kind of face like a few pages back when Wolverine was ready to throw down with the pale girl? Like he made that kind of look like where he's like, yeah, I'm gonna throw down, and then you just cut to sad face Wolverine, and it's like,
yeah.
oh, we almost got through the whole first part, and then you drop the ball at the very last part.
It's,
Oh.
it's an interesting choice artistically. I get what they're going for. It just looks silly to me.
Yeah, that was the only part. The rest of the issue, artwork wise, was great.
Yeah. It was great.
The character, like, I guess you could say, reintroduction was quick and painless, and it flowed well. We hit the ground running, so it was like a good speed and pace. But then things got kind of weirdly muddled up with like the Wolverine backstory exposition of like he's a changed man and he's dealing with kids now and he's just trying to figure out things. And then they dive back and forth too much between the Pollen exposition. I feel like that could have flowed a lot better. But that was something we talked about before we even got into this.
Yeah.
The whole plot kind of looped in on itself a few times, and it could have done without that.
Yeah. Um,
Because it was two-parter, and it felt like this
yeah,
could have been like shoved into the next issue. It didn't need to all be jammed into one issue.
true. Um, totally agree. Any things? What were your judgments? You said you didn't want to pass judgment, but what are you concerned about in this
I
issue?
I'm just worried about them reiterating too much of the plot point, like essentially what I just touched
Okay,
on
yeah,
about
what you just yeah, okay,
that, and then like if they get to, but see, it's a different artist next, even part two, so it's
yeah,
like our work will change as it goes on. So I really don't think I'm having any issues with that. And like I said, it's
yeah,
just the final panel, but overall, like I think the way they're using Wolverine and like how you're talking about how they handle things in general, they take from this paradigm that is like the compartmentalization structure that they pull from like corporate America and things like that, but the beauty is their compartmentalization is focused on one person. They compartmentalize mutant powers, and that makes them so efficient as a nation. And you really see that here in this issue and how useful that is and how
yeah,
impressive it is. Because even
yeah,
when you compartmentalize in a corporation, it's usually a few people. Occasionally you'll have like one HR person or something like that. But it's literally like we have a mutant for every particular issue. And even then, we still have teams of mutants that handle greater issues.
yeah.
It's like they're flowing like a well-oiled, like, gear. And
Well,
I really
machine
do
for
like
sure.
that. When you brought that up, I clicked onto that right away. I was like, "You know what? It's like a corporatocracy, but
Yeah,
instead of like groups and like organizations, they just have one mutant to handle each compartment." It's brilliant.
exactly. It's great. It feels
Mm.
like a tech startup like circa like 2005 where they're just all like, fuck this. We're gonna do what a corporation could do with like 5 to 10 people.
Yeah,
Fuck it.
this guy's the lawyer, this guy's the PR, this guy's got technology, like programming, like like knowledge, and like this guy's got like money investment, and it's like everyone fits their one. They're literally the head of that department, and they are that department.
Yeah, exactly. So I dig it. I
Yeah,
dig that. Yeah, I've always noticed I was like, this is super efficient. This is exactly the kind. It's like, well, that's the idea. They're trying to create that idealized like country where you actually do good for the people, and
yeah.
we're seeing that played out with
Super
mutants.
efficient and concise, and it allows for the exposition to move quickly when it comes to why these people are being used and why these mutants are on screen and why these mutants are interacting with these mutants. You don't need too much of like bookkeeping and like hand holding in that moment, because you're just like, oh, this is a part of this department, so this is why this person's here and this is why they're dealing with that. Like, I noticed that like how they were using Beast in the past. I was just like, well, it's kind of weird. But then I looked and I was like, well, he's head of this particular department, so I guess that's he's just going to have to deal with a lot of these things.
Yeah.
Like they just don't have other people in that department to kind of be more efficient. It's just Beast has to carry that department or that compartmentalization. So I appreciate that, and I like what they're doing here with Wolverine and using him in the same greater way. It's just that shit got muddled up when it got put alongside them trying to retell like Wolverine's woes and then the pollen issues and all that. It's like
Yeah.
that stuff didn't need to like kind of weigh it down. It already flowed really well, and it kind of mucked up the tracks as we were greasing along.
Crack on pollen. Would you smoke it? Would you snort it? Would you? Well, how would you consume this drug? What would be your method? Press into a pill?
I would mainline it to my job. No, just kidding. I don't know if I would be down to just outright take it unless it's pure cocoa and pollen. If it's cut
Right.
with anything crazy, I'd probably just parachute it or something. I just let it dissolve in my stomach somehow and take it from there.
Yeah.
Snorting it looked like it'd be like, I mean, you're snorting pollen, like, do you want an allergic reaction? Like, I'm good. Allergies are worse than like, springtime anyways. So I just like opened the door for that.
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
that's
Yeah.
probably the only way I'd take it. What about you? Would you smell it? Would you smoke some cocoa and green?
I might try some Kirkland and Green. A little add it to a joint like Keith.
Yeah, there you go. That would be funny. Yeah, we cut this. You want a spliff? No, man, this is that cocoa shit. Let's get
Uh,
cracked.
no, I would do the reverse parachute, aka the boof. I would boof it, put it up the butt,
Oh, that's the best way, man.
mainline it to your bloodstream.
Girls out there, like I would turn it into a tea base and I would soak my tampon in it. Oh man, the internet's full of great ways to do great things. Have fun,
Yes.
everyone.
Have fun.
Oh, 2020.
Oh, yeah. But that will do it for part one of issue one. There's a part two. This thing is 60 pages. So we got to break this up into 2 episodes. But that'll do it for this week, folks. Be sure to follow us on all the socials. Like and subscribe on that iTunes. I guess the algorithms like that. And I'm Danny. No, you're Danny. You are Danny. But one day I will be Danny.
We'll
But
all
that's
be one. We'll all be Danny when we join the ascension
the
of
Ascension.
Technoarch.
The Order of Danny.
Oh yes, touring in your local town this December.
uh, but that'll do it for us this week, folks. Remember, the robots will kill you. So go smoke some crackle and flowers, bitches. We out.